Guys, I've caught that Paul Pogba virus. I can't stop scoring now. Oh, Jesus. Oh, man. Guys, I can't stop winning. I can't stop scoring. I got that Paul Pogba virus in me. Jesus. But guys, in all seriousness, we are back live. I can't believe how excited I am to have watched 3 straight Manchester United matches. And not only that, we have gotten 3 straight big games from Paul Pogba himself. We're joined today live by the one, the only Matthew McFadden. Matthew, how you doing, my friend?
I'm pretty good. We talked about that intro there, and it was even worse than I was expecting.
But, I mean, it was – honestly, I think that this was even better than anything I could have expected going against Bournemouth. I knew this was going to be our first real test. And, man, all things being serious, we met our first test with flying colors. Absolutely flying colors. Let's see here. So, George Kyle Arthur fan here. Then we got Jay Hart said, can't stop scoring. I thought you were married. Bro, you can score with your wife? Come on now. Come on. Get real. Let's do this. But in all seriousness, a couple more points to till we 5th place. Chloe, I love that. I love the positivity. Couple more points to go to 5th, and Arsenal go down to 6th. We are going over Arsenal this season if Ollie Ball continues this way. Guaranteed. Great comment, Chloe. But in all seriousness, guys, let's get into this matchup. Let's talk about this a little bit. Let's first go, Matthew. I got to ask you, man, who was like, I just want to jump into man of the match because we have 2 players we got to talk about a little bit in depth here today. Who was your man of the match today?
You know what, we can talk about Rashford and his runs and stuff, but let's be real, Paul, hands down.
Yes.
The guy was so close to getting a hat-trick. As soon as that hit off the post, we were all just head in hands.
Yes. Oh, dude, I thought it was in. I was like, yes, yeah. Oh, come on. And I mean, all credit to the keeper. He made an absolutely fantastic save. But I mean, Pogba. I mean, Matthew. we have a brand new man, and we got what we expected now for a £90 million transfer. I mean, Matthew, give me your thoughts on Paul Pogba.
Well, yeah, he's starting to look good again. You know, you can talk about whether he down tools for Mourinho or whatever, but the fact of the matter is he's been so inconsistent up until Mourinho's left. And now in all these first 3 games has just been unbelievable. And so far in the league, he's contributed to 3 more goals than Christian Eriksen, who's obviously one of the best midfielders in the league. So it says a lot about his kind of impact on the team so far.
Oh, dude, absolutely. Absolutely. And just so you know, basically seems like everybody is in agreement with it. Paul Pogba was the man of the match. And let me tell you what, I think both Matthew and I do have that Mourinho virus, the Mourinho virus, the Pogba virus right now, because we are doing nothing but winning over here, guys. I could tell you that right now. But let's see. I mean, Carl said Pogba, Reza Pogba, Saban Pogba, George Kyle Pogba, Chloe Pogba, AFAF Pogba, Dan Jones Pogba. I mean, literally everybody Pogba, except for Ryan Beals, who did go with Lee Grant, which that's fair. I mean, Lee Grant is the legend, so I mean, it's okay if once in a while you got to give a random man of the match. But let's just say it is what it is. It's just like watching the women's team. Adam Bateman, yeah, I mean, in all honesty, we're scoring goals for fun now, just like the women's team have been. I'm still waiting to get a women's match on MUTV to watch a full match. They haven't played live in a while, but I would love to be able to do that because I want to support everything that is Manchester United at the moment. But, I mean, Matthew, I mean, right now, Paul Pogba has already gone over his total top amount of goals for a Premier League season. And yet some people still think that Paul Pogba is a problem at Manchester United. I mean, what do you have to say to those people?
But I'm not going to lie to you, in the summer I was very much, and well, I didn't hate Paul Pogba. I just thought we might as well sell him because he's not been good enough. However, I think it was kind of clear that under a new manager, or at least under a manager that would actually give him some kind of ability to roam about the pitch, do what he wants to do, obviously still within guidelines, and just have an impact on the attacking side of the pitch. And he's just done that to probably a bigger extent than most of us actually thought. I think we're maybe, expecting him to get like a goal or 2 assists or something, not 4 goals and 3 assists, or maybe even 4 assists, and to be one kind of Rashford free kick is one in 3 games, which is just like, that's messy numbers.
Oh, he is on another level right now, man. Like genuinely, he is on another level. None
of his assists or goals or whatever have been that lucky.
No, it's not like we've gotten a lucky. I'm sorry, what was that, Matthew?
They've all come from like well crafted out moves.
Yeah, no, genuinely, you're absolutely right. Like every goal, I could think back to all of them. Even the Marcus Rashford goal today, that Marcus Rashford stripped 2 guys naked on the right, and then just managed to get the ball directly to Paul, who was right there, which we all know. And I said this on the We Are the Busby Boys show with Tyler, good friend of mine. I said, if Paul Pogba really is a virus, I hope we all catch it, because he is doing things right now for Manchester United that show exactly why he is the best midfielder in the world. Do not get it twisted. It's not Kevin De Bruyne. It's not anybody else. It's Paul Pogba. When he is given the freedom to get into these positions, there is no one better than Paul Pogba. And we are just now finally being able to see that. It's all because he is being given freedom to get forward, freedom to do exactly what somebody like Paul Pogba should be doing. And I love seeing this Paul Pogba. But, I mean, Matthew, let's talk about, too, the other guy that probably could have won man of the match, too, if it wasn't for him coming off. Marcus Rashford had an absolutely stellar game today.
Yeah. I've said so many times in this show that Rashford is a really good athlete, but he just doesn't have a brain. He's starting to get himself a few brain cells. And it's so good to see, because he's actually making the right decisions. Like that first goal was just, it was Ronaldo-esque from Rashford.
Yes.
It just reminded me so much of Ronaldo in like 2006 or whatever, on that right-hand side, waiting for someone to commit, and then he just burns both of them, then setting up a goal. I thought if he would maybe stayed on for the full 90 minutes, he probably maybe would have contributed to another goal and probably would have got man of the match.
Yeah. So, I mean, and I did want to ask you about that, because obviously Lukaku came on for Rashford, and Rashford, you could hear it just when he was coming off the pitch. He got a roarous standing ovation, and well-deserved standing ovation. Did you think...
In that game that I went to, Angel Gomez got a standing ovation when he came on. I can only imagine what Rashford got when he came off.
Yeah. Yeah, honestly, I completely agree with you.
If Football Trafford, it would have been blown off.
So let me ask you this then. Did you think that it was appropriate to take Marcus Rashford off, who is having a possible man of the match performance, and put Lukaku on?
I don't have any issues with it. It gives Lukaku a few minutes, and also to some extent rest Rashford ahead of the Newcastle match, which is probably actually going to be a lot more difficult than the Bournemouth game. Lukaku coming on, no issues with it whatsoever. And to be fair to me, got a goal. And kind of, I mean, it was the most Lukaku goal I've seen. On the surface looks like a simple chance, but he messes up, but somehow still manages to bundle it in. But good on him.
Well, I mean, and in fairness, he did put that in with his weaker foot. You do notice he always likes to try and get onto his left foot. But I look at the way that Marcus Rashford was playing, and I do agree with you that it's probably smart to give him a rest, give him a break, let him get ready for that Newcastle match, because I do agree with you that this Newcastle match that's coming up is going to be very, very difficult. Like, Newcastle always step up their game against us. It's happened. You can go back as far in the history books as you possibly can, and Newcastle love to step up their game against us. But ultimately, Marcus Rashford today is somebody that you look at the way that he is putting on performances, and I love it. You can see that the freedom that he is being given is just, it literally looks like an entire weight has been lifted off of the shoulders of Marcus Rashford. I mean, I don't know if you remember this, Matthew, but there was a point where during the match that he tried a little like back heel nutmeg, that if he had done that on a Mourinho, I guarantee you he would have been subbed instantly for Fellaini after that.
So,
like, he was trying things in this match that honestly you never would have seen. It's the same thing with Pogba, same thing with Martial. Like, there was a point where Anthony Martial was kind of central, and then the ball got played in down the right, and he came in on the right, and he's the one that got the assist on that goal. Like, you never would have seen Martial out of position under Mourinho, because he wouldn't have been allowed to get out of position under Mourinho unless we were down by 2 or 3 goals. You just know that's the case. And it's amazing.
It looks like that's fun.
Yeah. Yeah. It looks like everybody is actually having fun. And even when he got subbed off because we needed to put on a center back because of Bailly getting a red card, it looked like he wasn't upset with getting taken off. He's like, oh, hey, you know what? I get it. We need to kind of shore things up a little bit. Like, everybody looks happy with the decisions that the manager is making, which just makes such a huge difference. It makes a massive difference to just the morale and the side overall in general. But I just wanted to kind of take a minute and talk about a few different comments here. So Adam Bateman, I was going to talk about this no matter what on the show, because obviously Alexis Sanchez was back in training this week, but we did not see him on the bench. And he asked, would you put Sanchez straight back into the side once he is fit? So, Matthew, I will go to you first. When Alexis Sanchez is fit, does he step right back into the side?
Yes, in place of where Lingard is. Because in the first game against Cardiff, he was unbelievable. Like 9 out of 10 for me. But today he just looked kind of anonymous. Or at least he didn't have the impact that he did against Cardiff.
Well, let me just say this. So his pressing rate of what he does is amazing. I love seeing what he does in the sense of he makes sure that he's always going after people. But at the same time, Alexis Sanchez can do that. Alexis Sanchez is playing is a different level of player. Nobody can deny that. I'm not saying I don't like Jesse Lingard by saying this. I'm just saying that Alexis Sanchez is a different class of player. And if we can get the Alexis Sanchez that was at Arsenal back, I honestly don't think that there's going to be any way that, our front line will be able to be stopped. We will possibly have the most deadly and brutal front three in all of the Premier League. And I know that's a bold statement considering the fact that there are some amazing front threes out there. But a Martial with freedom, Rashford with freedom, and Alexis Sanchez with freedom, good luck stopping that.
You can even make it a front four with Pogba.
Yeah.
That's kind of how we're playing at the moment. Like, Pogba, in a way, is almost like a second striker. Just kind of ghosting into space behind that front three.
So, real quick, I did want to read out a few different people's comments. So, Vandy Candy said Sanchez can press, but he received the ball at the halfway line. Feed him in the final third, and he will wreak havoc. I completely agree. Raise the Sunday said Sanchez needs game time, get his form and confidence up, and get him ready for the bigger games, which, once again, I agree. AFAF said Lingard really struggled with Lukaku. They are always playing, hiding behind defenders. Dan Jones said, I'd start Alexis against Reading and ease him in from there. And then I also did like this one from Angelino Red, who said, I'd do to Sanchez what Ollie is doing with Lukaku at the moment, which I do agree with that. I think slowly getting him back into the system, seeing how he performs and seeing how he does, I actually think that the Reading match will likely be the first time that we will see Alexis Sanchez start a match in terms of like coming back from his injury that he got. He definitely wasn't going to be sold in January, guys. Definitely wasn't going to be sold in January because he was Injured. So, you never read my comment. Darren, so I'm actually scrolling back up. I'm sorry about that, right? Put him in at center back as we know, as we have no one apart from Lindelof. Listen, I know I saw, Darren, that you said that we need to buy 2 center backs. And listen, I don't think that we need to buy 2, actually. I really don't. And I don't know how Matthew feels, and we'll go to him next. But for me personally, I look at the fact that if we could get the Eric Bailly back from 2 seasons ago, who was the best, if not one of the best, center backs in all of the Premier League. No one can deny that. And then he got injured. And then we got the bullcrap excuse in March that Mourinho wasn't going to be playing him anymore because he needed to, give people a chance that were going to the World Cup. I never believed that for a second. If we can get a confident Eric Bailly back, I get that he got a red card today, and we will talk about that here in a second. But if we can get a confident Eric Bailly back, we have a center back partnership. You talk about the fact that then we also have Axel Tuanzebe that will come back from loan. We'll also have Timothy Fosu-Mensah that could play that position coming back from loan. We'll also have Roshan Williams, who's down in the youth setup, that can do a job there, as well as the fact that we still have Chris Smalling, who just signed a new contract and has possibly been our most steady center back going back 4 or 5 years. Not that that's necessarily saying a lot, but it still says something. He has been consistent and consistently decent. So, I mean, Matthew, do you think that we need to sign 2 center backs in the summer?
I don't know. I'm really torn. See when it comes to Eric Bailly, and I know we're going to discuss him a bit more. I absolutely love the boy, right?
Yes.
But let's face it, he's always a red card waiting to happen. What he seems to do is he seems to put in a 9 or 10 out of 10 performance, and then either one of 3 outcomes will happen. He'll either get a red card, he'll score an own goal, or he'll be injured. And it just seems to be that cycle with him. I think in this game summed it up perfectly. He was pretty much an absolute shithouse of a player, which we all kind of love to see. It's like that old school defending. However, that red card was just stupid. There was no reason to do that. So I think I'd still 100% keep him in the team. I think right now, if there's one player that seems very redundant, it's Chris Smalling, because he's not really a ball-playing centre-back as such. Or out of the centre-backs that we've got at the moment, he's not really that, or he's probably the worst on the ball. So I'd say we're to chip him off, maybe, and bring in a really good, established defender at the moment, because that's something that we're kind of missing. We've got a lot of good defenders, decent defenders who are sort of in their mid-20s and will keep getting better. But if we can get someone who's maybe 27, 28, who's already a really good commanding defender, then that's probably what we should be looking for.
And listen,
maybe sign one centre-back, I think. But if we maybe ship off, maybe Marcus Rojo or something, then we could maybe get 2. But then again, Tuanzebe's coming back at the end of the season. He'll be another welcome addition to the squad.
Yeah, no, and listen, I completely agree. I do like what people are saying. By the way, thank you guys for the compliments on the Stone Cold belt. Just so you guys know, I mean, you know what? I'll show you now. This is an authentic belt, and it is. It's pretty dang cool how this thing looks on the back. So this is actual snakeskin on the back of this thing. This is an authentic belt. You can hear that shit.
It came from Jake the Snake Roberts.
Listen, we all love Jake the Snake. Get it back up there. But I did want to talk about that red card for a second. And Matthew, I want to know, did you think that that should have been a red card?
Oh, it's 100% a red card. It was just a stupid challenge.
So let me ask you this: why?
It wasn't necessarily a 2-footer, and the studs were shown, but it was a late challenge, and it was in an area that he just didn't need to do. There was no danger. We had quite a few players back, anyways. I think it was more stupid decision making. I think if he was to maybe get an injury from that, the Bournemouth player, then it wouldn't have been completely intentional. Like, there wasn't, I don't really feel there was much malice in it, but it was dangerous nonetheless. And again, it wasn't an area that he just really didn't need to do. There was also that other challenge with, I think it was Daniels or Cook, one of the two defenders, where, I mean, the clearance itself was absolutely sensational, but he did kind of connect with the side of his face. I don't really think that's a red card as such, because it was more of a coming together than anything. But overall, if you look at both of them, he should have been sent off.
So listen, for me, and I know I put it out there on Twitter, but I still don't think that it was a red card. When I go back and I watch the tackle again, yes, he did only get the man, but both feet were down. It's not like it was the Marcus Rojo challenge where both feet were together and he slid in with both feet up in the air. Like, and that only got a yellow card. To me, the way that he brought that challenge into place, I think personally, that it was not a red card. With the way that he did the tackle, yes, he did only get the man, but he was going after the ball. It wasn't like there was malicious intent in the tackle, which I feel like does come into play a lot of times with red cards, if there was malicious intent. And then lastly, by him keeping his feet downward instead of going in studs up, I feel like that's where it wasn't a red card for me personally. It doesn't mean that I'm right, because it's all just opinion. But, I mean, I just think that...
See, when it happens, I was like, oh, get in there, what a man. And then about 1 second later, I thought, oh, God, he's been sent off here, isn't he? And then the red card came in, and I thought, you absolute idiot, Eric.
Yeah.
What have you done here?
And Tyler actually asked me the question on his show, and I'll ask you the question. Do you think that it was, in a sense, quote, unquote, a makeup call for when he did have that high foot challenge in the box earlier on?
I don't think an official should give a card based on the fact that he didn't give a card for a previous challenge, just to kind of balance things out. But when you look at it in hindsight, then it kind of does balance things out, because both of them are probably yellow cards. Because like you said, there wasn't any real malice, but it was still dangerous. So if he had got a yellow card for that first one and got a second yellow for that one, I think everyone would have been like, okay, fair enough. But I think that challenge, the second challenge, is the kind of thing where if he had got a yellow for that, we'd be debating it. And if he got a red for it like he did, we'd be debating it. It's sort of damned if you do, damned if you don't kind of thing.
Yeah.
A bit like the Salah penalty from last week, where he got a tiny little tug in the arm and just felt like a sack of potatoes.
So, I mean, it seems like for the most part, people are kind of mixed in the chat as well, whether they think it's a red card or not. It's like it is. Like I said, it's just for me personally that I don't think it's a red card. Just like for Matthew, for him, it was a red card. So it's something we can continue to debate until the cows come home. But I think we could possibly be here for a couple hours if we really wanted to do that. So I did want to talk about this too, which maybe we'll wind up kind of doing a weekly show coming up, like with the weekly show coming up. Maybe we'll start talking about transfers a little bit, since it will be January by the time we do the weekly show, and it will be appropriate to talk about. But with the rumors swirling that Koulibaly will be sold off in January, do you think Manchester United, despite the fact that we still do have an interim manager in place, should go after Koulibaly?
Oh, yeah, 100%.
Now, I do always have to do the question of why.
Because he's one of the best defenders in Serie A. Obviously, the kind of unfortunate thing that's happened with him recently will probably make him think, well, actually, maybe I don't want to be here. Maybe I want to move to a different country where it's still a very high level. I can still play for a top team. And United right now are calling out for a centre-back. And I think him specifically is just so suited to the Premier League, because he's an absolute tower of a man. I think he's about 6'2", 6'3", but he's just an absolute brute force. Like, don't get me wrong, I've not watched every single Napoli game, but that Napoli v Liverpool game where Napoli got a good result, he was one of the best players on the pitch there.
But I mean, and you can see the quality that he has. It's very brutally obvious. And I will say this, not that I'm saying that if a rival club is rumored to be getting him, we should be going after them too. But in this sense, we should be going after Koulibaly, in my opinion. He is a little bit older. I'm not saying that he's old. I'm just saying he is a little bit older than, people that I would like to be bringing in, people like Mathis de Ligt. I'd like to be giving Axel Tuanzebe chances. But let me tell you what, bringing in an experienced center back like that, somebody that is currently at the top of their game, I think would be a class decision from Manchester United. Yes, it does seem that when Italian defenders come in to the Premier League, that they don't tend to succeed as well. I mean, Matthew, we've kind of talked about this before off of show. I mean, it does seem like Italian defenders don't tend to do well in the Premier League. But
that's true. However, he's not spent his whole career at Italy. That's the good part.
Exactly.
I think he was in some team in Belgium, I think, because I remember buying him FIFA or something like that before he moved to Napoli. So it's not like his whole career has just been ingrained with this Italian philosophy of defending first. He'd kind of be a bit like Eric Bailly, but like a sort of slightly better version.
And I actually agree with you on that. Like, I think that he would be a better version of Eric Bailly. And at the very least, I feel like Koulibaly, the one thing that he could do is he could bring his experience into the side and make it so that the other players that are going to be around him, the people like Victor Lindelof, the people like Eric Bailly, the people like Axel Tuanzebe, who will be coming back from on loan, like having somebody like that in the side can make a huge difference to the mentality of the players that are currently there. Which, by the way, I did want to say, because I saw your comment, Paul. Thank you very much for the compliment on the setup. I mean, this, believe it or not, guys, this took all together between setting all this up, the lights, getting the camera perfectly positioned, took me about 8 hours total. It was about a full work day worth of getting everything set up, because I've also got, what you guys can't see is I've actually got the NFL on in the background. I've got Red Zone on. And I've got the TV set up. I've got the whole setup. This took a pretty good amount of time to do. So I really appreciate you guys just with the compliments about the new studio. And we're going to start bringing on new guests as well. Paul, I was going to be messaging you here soon, seeing if you wanted to get on the show. I know that Benjamin, who's my twin, we got to get him on the show in the new year. We're going to
show.
Yeah, exactly. We gotta do just loads and loads of stuff. Darren, my NFL team, you can see them right here. Arizona Cardinals. I'm a Arizona Cardinals fan for life. They might suck right now, but they're my team, and I will always support them.
Not like Man United a few months ago.
Hey, exactly. So, Matthew, we're about 30 minutes in. Let's go ahead and let's start getting into these player ratings.
Let's do it.
So we'll first off, we always start with him, the one and only David De Gea, who really didn't have much to do today. And the one goal that got let in, I don't really put on him. So what would you give David De Gea today?
I'll probably give him a 7. There was one decent save, but I've forgotten how it actually came to. I think it might have been a bad back pass that was just at the corner of his goal. And then he managed to dive down and just kind of skip it out and keep hold of it. But apart from that, he didn't have anything to do as such.
Yeah.
So 6 or 7, either rating will do fine.
I was going to give him a 7 just because, I mean, he's David De Gea, and unless it's actually his fault the goals are going in, I'm never really going to hold it against him. And that goal, I mean, it was perfectly worked by Bournemouth. I mean, Matic probably could have done a little bit more to get in the way of Aki, who put in the goal, but at the same time, it was going to be a tough stop for him being that close and him putting that much power on it. So let's see here. We've got Vandy Candy said, which by the way, I always say this, guys, if you want to have your match ratings read on the show, get them in now, and I will get them read out on the show. So be sure to get them in now, and we'll continue. We'll just go with the players with us. So Vandy Candy went with an 8 for De Gea. George Kyle 7. Reza Sunday said 7. Didn't have much to do today. Jay Hart said it's a 7 for me. No world class saves today. That's very true, Jay Hart. Let's see here. Shane went with a 7. Darren Munns went with a 6, which honestly, I feel like a 6 is fine because it's just he really didn't have much to do today. It's the truth. Mr. Exclusive went with a 7, which, by the way, always big shout outs to my mods, Mr. Exclusive, Ryan Beals, and you're obviously joined by Matthew, guys. I mean, come on. Big F's in the chat for Matthew. How about that? Big F's in the chat.
Just spam a bunch of F's.
Just a whole bunch of F's in the chat. Big F's. We got Paul Gardner gave De Gea a 6. Again, I feel that's very, very, very worthy. So let's go ahead. Let's say a 6.5 for De Gea. I feel like the combination of those feels very appropriate. So 6.5 De Gea. We love you, Dave. Don't ever leave us, please. Not that you're ever going to see this, but just know that we love you on this show and we don't ever want you to go anywhere. George Kyle said, I never spam. Let's go ahead and let's move on to Ashley Young, who I feel like had a decent game today. Didn't do anything spectacular necessarily, but I feel like his experience really does help the side. Matthew, what do you give Ashley Young for today?
See, when you compare how Ashley Young is as a footballer, I'd say he actually had a very good game. I don't know if I'd give him an 8 out of 10, but definitely a 7. Thought positioning-wise, he was actually quite good, which is something that Young is just never good at. Going forward, he was, again, pretty good. It's obviously nice to see those fullbacks so far up the pitch. Obviously, against the big teams, we might not get to do that as much, but against the likes of Bournemouth or Cardiff or whatever, when he's further up the pitch, it's probably where he's most effective.
Yeah.
So maybe a 7 out of 10.
Well, and you can see when he gets further up the pitch as a fullback, you can see his winger qualities come into play. That's the one thing I do notice. And because he is obviously a natural winger. Go figure. Somebody that's a winger is actually good at doing natural winger things. But I ultimately am going to give him a 7 today as well. I feel like he did a good job at what he was asked to do, and he's doing exactly what Ollie wants him to do, which is exactly why he will probably continue to start on the right, other than the occasional game that Delo will get in out there, which I think is very, very fair. Let's see here. So we go. George Kyle said 7 is the average. Shane, by the way, Shane said, Matthew McFadden, you get an F out of 10. So that's fair.
I mean, that's fair.
That's fair. Raise a Sunday said a 7. Darren Munns, 7. Dan Jones went with a 6.5. Vandy Candy gave him a 6. Jay Hart went with a 7. He covered Rashford pretty well. AFAF went with a 6. George Kyle said a 0 because it's Ashley Young. I mean, I know that you're not the biggest fan, but I mean, I feel like that might be a little harsh, just a little bit. Then Paul Gardner, he went with a 7.5. He did well going forward, linking up with the forwards. I agree with that. Can't remember him doing much. 7 from Reza. Is that it? So Nick Archer said 7+. Young will get Platt at left back when Shaw gets a rest, and Valencia get played. Young will get played at left back. Okay. Shane Higgs went with a 7. He's okay going forward. Could have been a bit better, but did okay. Silly with the tackle that he got booked for. Yeah. George sounding like Jose. George sounding like Jose. Yeah. I mean, he is a Real Madrid fan. We all know that about George. So, I mean, he's obviously going to be a pretty big Mourinho fan. Obs. We know you, George. I'm looking at you.
Some say his room's just covered with Luka Modric posters.
I have heard that. I have heard that George Kyle has actually ordered 7 Luka Modric posters off of your store. Can you confirm, Matthew?
I can.
Listen, I know that you have confidentiality. But in all seriousness, we love you, George. You know that. But we'll go ahead and we'll move on. Let's go to Eric Bailly first, who obviously got the red. That's going to take his rating down a little bit. But until he got the red, I feel like he was having a relatively decent game. Matthew, what do you think?
You know what? It's so hard to give him a rating because it's kind of like if a striker scores or something and then they miss a penalty. It's like, what do you still give them a high rating or do you drop his rating down a lot? I'd probably say when you kind of even things out, maybe a 7 out of 10 because his overall game was absolutely fantastic. There was just those 2 very dodgy incidents. So I'd say maybe a red card would take his rating down by maybe 1 or 2. So I don't really think 6 does his overall performance justice. But then again, you can't rate him too highly because he obviously got a straight red card.
Yeah.
So 7 out of 10, I think.
So the straight red does hinder what I was going to give him. I probably would have given him an 8 today if it wasn't for that. But getting the red card, I will have to knock off at least a point, if not a point and a half. I personally am going to go with a 6.5. We did talk about it. At that point in the game, you're up 4-1. You don't need to make that tackle like that. While I don't think it's a red card, you also don't need to make that rash of a tackle. I actually even respect the mentality of treat every play like you're going to be at 0-0 and you need to win the ball. I actually respect playing like that. But at the same time, you were very rash in your tackle, Eric, and you know that you need to be better. So let's give Eric a 6.5 from me. I mean, Matthew, are you? I know you gave him a 7. I feel like you were talking about possibly giving him a 6. Would you be cool with giving a 6.5 overall?
Yeah, that's fair.
So their ratings are actually kind of very interesting for Eric. So AFEF went with a 9. Mr. Exclusive went with a 3. Vandy Candy a 5. Jay Hart a 5. The red, he said the damn red card pointless. Nick Archer went with a 7 for Bai before red, and difference is Bai being ready for Reading after the red instead of disappearing. So basically saying that after getting the red, you have to drop the rating a little bit. George Kyle said that the only reason why he hasn't gotten the Luka Modric poster yet is because you don't have one yet, Matthew. So,
dude, shut your face, George. I've got one up. Someone's ordered one, so take that help. Don't come to me thinking you're smart, George. Before you do your research.
So Reza went with a 5 because of the red silly tackle. Paul Gardner said, "Buy 5 when he has the ball. He worries me when he goes for a tackle in the box. I have kittens." He has a red card waiting to happen in every game. That's fair, Paul. Dan Jones.
Like almost all ratings that you can get him is kind of justifiable.
Yeah, honestly, I feel like whatever people would rate him right now, I'd understand it because the red card does make it so it's going to be very hard to rate him overall. But Dan Jones went with Bai giving a 5. Would have been a 7 if he didn't get the red. George Kyle said 6. Darren Munn said 4. It's still AFF did say it's still a joy to watch. It's still always a joy to watch Bai, which I agree with. I love watching Eric Bai. Shane Higgs said 7 out of 10. Andrew Missa said you look like you laugh like Jay-Z. Oh, as I said, look like Jay-Z. I was like, I feel like there might be a bit of a pigment difference. Not that that's a big deal, but I mean,
you're gonna get absolutely lynched for that. 2018.
Listen, you know me, I'm politically incorrect, bro, but I don't think that this is the same color as Jay-Z. And plus Jay-Z has a lot more money than me, is a lot more handsome than me. Let's be real.
It's a camera.
Yeah. And plus he's dating the one and only Beyonce. I mean, come on. He wins in every single sense of the word. But
after this stream.
Padcast said Bai gets a 6. I like that the pigment difference is getting claps from the chat. Guys, like I said, we're just not the same person, Jay-Z and I. I don't know if you can tell or not, but come on. Let's be real. I'm more famous than Jay-Z. Oh, shoot. Matthew got dropped from the call. Matthew, why do you keep dropping from the call?
My phone ran out of charge yet. It's still got 3%. I don't know what's happening.
It's okay, man. Well, at least you're back on the stream. So Dan Jones did say, no, I win. I have the red beard. That's fair. That's fair. But Pancast said that me and Jay-Z are basically the same person. Listen, fair. I could see it. But let's go ahead. Let's move on to Victor Lindelof, who, once again, Victor Lindelof is just cool, calm, and collected. I love the Iceman, Victor. Matthew, what do you rate him today?
I feel like the word solid summed him up. Like,
yes.
It wasn't an amazing game, but it wasn't a bad game. So, like, 7 out of 10, maybe. See, I don't typically give half ratings, so if I was to do, then maybe 6.5, but I'd probably lean more 7 than 6.
Well, and here's my thing. I'm actually going to give Victor an 8. I think that Victor Lindelof on the ball is absolutely fantastic, and I love watching him on the ball. He's like you can see it in defense. He didn't really have much to do today, but when he was called to duty, he did exactly what he needed to do. Like I said, the goal that happened today was ultimately Nemanja Matic's fault. Not that he could have done a little bit more, but at the end of the day, I mean, what you can't really ask a guy to out jump a guy sometimes. Like it's gonna happen. Mr. Exclusive laughed at duty. Then let's see here. So, but I think that Victor Lindelof an 8 would be fair, considering the fact that he is exactly what this system needs, a ball-playing center back, and he does that perfectly well for us. So, I mean, Matthew...
He's definitely the more composed out of the two. That's a given.
Yes, clearly. Very clearly. You can tell that he does think when he goes into his challenges, 100%. But
I think last season he was starting to panic whenever the ball would come to him. So if he was a little bit scared almost, and now when he's given that consistent run of games, like, don't get me wrong, he's not a world beater by any means. And he's probably not a starting centre-back for a Premier League winning team. But right now, he's just doing a really good job. So you can't knock him for that.
Yeah. No, and that's fair. That is fair. I think that ultimately, because you give him a 7, I give him an 8, we go with the 7.5. I know, like you said, you don't give half ratings, but, sometimes you got to do it. Yep. Sometimes you got to do it. So,
7.5 is fair.
Vandy Candy said Lindelof gets an 8.5. Jay Hart said 8. AFAF said, "Oh, Victor," and did the needle with an 8. I love that. I love Victor Lindelof. I really do. And it's awesome seeing him really get chances now, like true chances of doing what he's best at. Dan Jones said Lindelof gets a 7, and he also put in parentheses future captain, which I could see happening if he continues to be this kind of player. Raise a Sunday said 7.5. Pancast said Lindelof gets a 9 from me. Nick Archer said Lindelof 8. Just need to improve on defensive set pieces mainly. He lost Aki once, but not on the goal header, which that is true. Mr. Clue said Iceman Vidic player gets an 8.9. He gave him an 8.9. I like it. I do an emotional rating. Does that count, AFAF? It does count. It always counts. Every rating counts. Lindelof, a 7 for me from George Kyle. Still suspect in terms of pace and leathering it as Shaw shows decision making needs work. Interesting. Let's see here. Paul Gardner went with an 8. Didn't have much to do, but when he did it with confidence. You can see his improvements in every game. Completely agree. And Doug said Andrew Southwick is the best thing to come from Arizona. I mean, in fairness, Doug, Shawn Michaels did come from Arizona, so I think I might lose that battle. The Heartbreak Kid is the winner. I'm just going to give it to him.
He might have a sweet chin music, but does he have Arthur?
You know what? Arthur is right there, guys. He's right here. He's with us always. And unfortunately, with the new studio, we can't bring Arthur in as much. We will still bring him in as often as possible. But, I mean, Shane Higgs gave him an 8, which, you know what? You know what? We'll bring in Arthur after the player ratings, guys. We'll give you guys an Arthur sighting. What's going on, Jack? Good to see you, man. But I think that's everybody. I mean, Paul, in fairness, I think Chester Bennington might lose out to Shawn Michaels too. Let's be real. Shawn Michaels is the greatest of all time in the WWE. And WWE it's up here somewhere. I don't know. Somewhere in this area.
I mean, it's a good trio anyways.
Yes. So let's go ahead. Let's move on to Luke Shaw. Matthew, how do you think Luke Shaw did today?
Probably the best defender, in my opinion.
Yeah.
But it was good seeing him actually make runs as opposed to last game, where just looking at him from the stands, he was constantly just standing in one position, waiting for the ball to come to him. It was kind of like he was playing under Mourinho again. But there was some kind of switch in his head that thought, oh no, I'm actually playing for Ole at a moment. I need to start making forward runs. And he was doing that a lot more in this game. So, I'd probably give him like an 8 out of 10, maybe.
And I was going to give him an 8 out of 10 as well. I think that Luke Shaw today, you could see the brain of, we got to get forward, really came into play. You could really and truly see it. And
you're going to expect that from players because we've had 2.5 years of this, and specifically this season, where players just don't make any runs because of the sort of instructions that the manager gives. So we'll see the occasional game where people might be a little bit too lazy or just not make the right type of runs, but over time we'll see such an improvement.
And I think that we're going to continue to see improvement. But, I mean, we did talk about it a little bit last week. I notice Luke Shaw in defense. I really do. And he does do a good job. And there was a couple of times last week where you could see that he still knows his defensive responsibilities. It's just a matter of him starting to get forward more. And you really did notice him getting forward more in this match. And it was like really brutally obvious. And I feel like he feels that connection with Martial very, very well. I don't know if you agree with me on that, Matthew.
Yeah. See, if there's one thing that I've really criticised Luke Shaw on, is his defensive positioning. Because you saw under Mourinho, he was just all over the place. Like, there'd be times where he needed to be a bit wider, and he'd just be tucked in the middle, basically playing as a centre-back in a way. And there'd be times where he's too wide, letting people come inside. But recently, we've seen a much more improved Luke Shaw in terms of knowing when to tackle, what position to be in, and how often he tracks back.
Yeah, no, I completely agree. So we'll go ahead and we'll get into people's ratings for Luke Shaw today. Let's see here. So Jack Vlogs went with Luke Shaw, giving him an 8. Vandy Candy 7. George Kyle gave Shaw a 6. Shane Higgs did say Luke got forward so much more today, which that was brutally obvious. Raise the Sunday went with a 7.5. Shane did go with an 8 for Luke Shaw. Doug did say that Luke Shaw has been your most consistent defender for United this season, which that is very true. Nick Archer went with a solid 9. He's becoming a rock at left back, which it seems like he's starting to repay the money that we paid for, that we are giving him, which is awesome. Dan Jones went with a 6.5. Jay Hart gave him a 7.5. He has to react faster, which I do agree with you a bit on that, Jay Hart. I do notice that his decision making sometimes I think he gets caught between the Mourinho brain and the Ollie brain right now. Of, do I get forward or do I need to go back? Which I feel like that will go with time.
I think luckily as well, he's got enough pace to get back. Should he initially make a bad decision?
Yeah. No, I agree with you there. Pancaz went with an 8. AFAF went with a 7.5. We don't need so Shane Hicks said we don't need long-term coverage for Shaw, though. He's not Ashley Young, and he's a natural left back. I do want to see Debbie Mitchell used when he comes back from loan, which I actually talked about that. I think that Debbie Mitchell would be a good backup left back, somebody that could play when he is needed. In the lesser matchups, like in FA Cups and League Cups. especially in the early rounds, maybe against lesser competition when Luke does need a break. But yeah, I think that Demi Mitchell would be a good choice. Paul Gardner said Shaw gets some good defensive work using his pace and strength, just needs to be more alert with making runs and overlapping. I do agree with you on that, Paul. Like we said, I think that it's just going to be a matter of time before he really gets that the pressing brain into place. And I think with time we will see that more and more. So Matthew, let's go ahead and let's move up to Nemanja Matic, who again had a good game, other than the fact that he did allow the goal from Nathan Ake. But besides that, he did well today. What do you give him today, Matthew?
Yeah, it's a bit unfortunate that he kind of let Ake get in so easily. But when it's a corner situation like that, you can't really prepare for exactly what the opposition's going to do. But again, he's like a new player.
Yeah.
He's been it would be him, Pogba, and Rashford that have been the three most improved players under Ole so far.
Yes.
And again, it was another really solid performance. And some of the passes that he's playing was sort of what you'd expect from Pogba. So I'd even be tempted to give him an 8, but a 7 equally would do.
And I was going to give him a 7 because I feel like he was responsible for giving up the goal and not getting De Gea his clean sheet that I feel like De Gea deserves. Not that anybody deserves a clean sheet, but I feel like he does deserve one. But I feel like a 7 for him is appropriate. And you can see it's exactly what we have been talking about for a long time, that with Nemanja Matic, if you put him in a defense and you tell him to break up the play and get the pass off quick, he could be a good CDM. And that's exactly what he's doing right now, is he's breaking up the play and he's getting it off to his more skillful players as quickly as possible. So
it also begs the question, what was Jose Mourinho telling him to do?
Yeah.
Because it's obvious that he can actually pass quite quickly.
And with precision too. With precision.
But he's actually a really good passer of the ball.
And to get even deeper into it, you talk about the fact that Nemanja Matic is somebody that we were saying he needs to leave. And now I'm like, well, maybe Mourinho was really a problem to a great extent, because if Nemanja Matic is playing this well in this new system, it just goes to show that Nemanja Matic can live up to whatever a manager asks of him.
Yeah. And we can talk about how setting up the players maybe like down tools, sort of not really intentionally playing to the best of their ability. But we all know that Matic is one of Mourinho's boys.
Yes.
So it does kind of beg the question, what has he been instructed to do this season?
Yes. No, I agree.
Because he looked like what he was at the start of last season, where he was actually a really solid presence in that midfield. And we've just not seen it for about a year up until now.
Yeah. And we're starting to see what looks like the real Nemanja Matic. I love it. So Pankaz gave Matic an 8. Vandy Candy gave Matic a 7. Shane Higgs a 7. Reza Sunday 7.5. George Kyle gave him a 6. Nick Archer gave Matic an 8. That's 3 solid games in a row. You're absolutely right, Nick. Dan Jones gave him an 8. Jay Hart gave him a 6.5. A mistake is a mistake, can't be ignored. Cost me. Vandy Candy talked about some fantasy Premier League points that Matic cost him. That's fair. That's fair. Let's see here. Goal. So George Kyle is saying that the goal is Young's fault because the cross came from his side, but Matic still could have done more to stop Ake from getting to the ball. Just my opinion. Paul Gardner said Matic is an 8. He said Matic is reborn, stalwart in the middle, and again picking out key passes through the middle instead of always playing the safe sideways pass. We've missed that from a midfielder. Completely agree. Sorry, guys, still got that Paul Pogba virus. Jay Hart, Mr. Exclusive said give him a 5. Listen, ultimately, I feel like Nemanja Matic deserves a 7. I feel like that's a very appropriate rating for him. And we'll go ahead. We'll move on to Andrew Herrera, who had, once again, a really good game. And I love that he is doing everything he can to open up that midfield even more for Paul Pogba. Matthew, what do you give Ander Herrera today?
He's looking like a proper midfielder now.
Yep.
Like I said a lot in the shows, I'm still kind of unconvinced that he's really a title-winning central midfielder. See, right now, with the options that we have, he's probably our best one. When you compare the likes of, Fred and Andy Pereira, are probably the other two who would play in that position. But it's good to see him actually being a proper box-to-box midfielder and helping out in both sort of areas of the pitch. And his cross for Pogba as well. I think it was Pogba that headed in his cross. That cross was absolutely fantastic.
Yes, it was. It was Pogba on that one. I'm sorry, I had to think back to it without trying to see the play. But
there's so many goals and assists that we just lose track now.
It's true. It's true. Yeah. It's nice getting 12 goals in 3 games, isn't it? Which I talked about this on the We Are the Busby Boys show, but I'm going to talk about it here. Guys, under Ole Gunnar Solskjaer, we now have scored basically 30% of our total goals for the season under him. 30% in 3 games. 3 games. That's what all it's taken Ollie to get us to this point. 3 games to score 30% of our total goals this season. Absolutely phenomenal. But, I mean, Matthew, I didn't hear if you gave Herrera a rating yet.
I'd probably get his overall game is probably a 7 out of 10, but that cross alone puts it up. So 8 out of 10.
Honestly, I was going to give him an 8 out of 10 today too. I feel like he is the key in that midfield that unlocks Paul Pogba being able to get forward as much as he does. So I think I look at the ratings that people are giving him. We've got Dan Jones giving him an 8. Lovely assist too. Vandy Candy said Herrera gave him an 8. George, I don't know. I think that Julian Weigl is out of favor at Dortmund at the moment. I believe you're right.
Yeah, he's not getting played one bit.
That Paul Pogba virus is contagious. Yeah, no, it's true. It is true. Everybody's catching the Paul Pogba virus right now. I just thought I'd let you guys know. Pankaz gave Herrera an 8.5. George Kyle gave him a 7. Jay Hart gave him a 7. He controlled the midfield and allowed Pogba to move freely. Shane Higgs gave him an 8. That cross for Pogba was fantastic. Reza gave him an 8. Paul Gardner said a 7. A battler in the midfield definitely made a difference today. It looks like that's everybody. No, I'm sorry. Nick Archer did have one here. He said Herrera 8, another nice assist, playing well in attack and defense, true box to box. Yeah, and honestly, guys, I love seeing Ander Herrera does what he's able to do. Because you think about back to Mourinho's first season in charge at Manchester United, and you think about who Ander Herrera was for that team, and I think that we were all shocked that he really wasn't played the following season. I mean, he was that good. And if we can get Ander Herrera to be the key to unlocking everything, I mean, why not continue to play him? Why not? But you know what, Matthew? We got to go on to our man of the match, Paul Pogba. What do you give Paul Pogba for today?
Oh, man. He is a sun-boy supper. He's an absolute legend of a guy. It's just, he's contributed now to, it depends if you want to count that Marcus Rashford free kick thing as an assist, at least 7 goals in the last 3 games. The last game, we struggled to see that under a Jose Mourinho team. Never mind one single play. And we're all really hoping that he would get a hat trick.
Oh, we will.
So
we were.
Got that third one. Forced a fantastic save from the keeper, but another absolutely dominant performance. And I think we all knew that under a different manager, a manager that would instruct the players to attack a lot more, he'd be better. But I'd be lying if I said he wasn't exceeding that expectation.
I mean, it's been 3 games.
Instant impact is just unreal.
So
like, if he was to get a hat trick and set up maybe another goal or whatever, he'd get a 10 out of 10, no doubt. But I'd say 9 out of 10.
Let's see. And so personally, I'm giving Pogba a 10. I mean, he had 2 goals and an assist today. So
Did he get an assist?
Yeah.
Okay, put it up to 10 then.
Yeah. No, he was absolutely phenomenal in every sense of the word. I look at Paul Pogba and I look at what he's doing out on that pitch and hearing the way Ollie talks about him. I mean, Matthew and I, before we went live, we were talking about a quote that came out from Ollie, talking about that Paul Pogba doesn't have to prove anything. He doesn't have to showboat to show how great of a player he is. We all already knew how great of a player Paul Pogba could be. It was just a matter of the right manager unlocking his talent. And the right manager is unlocking his talent, giving him the freedom to do what he needs to do. I love what Paul Pogba is doing. And it's the reason why my picture with Paul Pogba is currently my pinned tweet. Like, talk about a worthy pinned tweet right now. Just Paul Pogba is doing absolutely immense things for the entire squad. And I love that Paul Pogba is doing what he's doing for Manchester United. So I wanted to get into the people. So George Kyle said Pogba a 10, and I'm not accepting another rating. That's fair. That's fair. Let's see. Yeah, an AFAF said the Lukaku goal was where he got the assist.
Oh, so it was. But yeah, if you're a midfielder and you contribute to 3 goals and have a good overall game, apart from those 3 goals, then it's 10 out of 10, hands down.
Yeah, no, exactly. Razor Sunday said 10.5 for Paul Pogba. Pancaj went with a 10. Dan Jones, Pogba, perfect 10. Yeah, he is the perfect 10. 10. You guys already know. If you're an NXT fan, you already know. What's up? But Jay Hart went with Pogba can't get anything less than a 10. AFAF said Pogba 11. Doug said Pogboom. Yes, Pogboom indeed, sir. Pogboom indeed. We've got Shane Higgs said Pogba has to be a 10 out of 10 today. George Kyle actually went with 0, 0, 1, 0, 0, 0. I can't, George. I'm not doing math right now. We're not going to do.
Zeros are there?
1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10, 11, 12. 12 zeros, I think. 12
that's
zeros.
100 billion.
Yeah, 100 billion. I mean, fair.
Yeah, that's fair.
Pogba 5-star performance from Vandy Candy. Yeah, absolutely. Pogba's like a brand new signing from Doug James. Nick Archer said Pogba's 10, still on fire. Hit the dab. You guys already know. Hit that dab. Paul Pogba. I'll give you another one. Hit that dab.
That's still questionable.
No, you guys already know. Best dab on
He needs to come
YouTube.
up with a new move, though.
He does still do his. He does that, and then it did look like, so they were showing it on NBC Sports today. He had like the new jumping celebration where he crosses his arms. I guess that he was working on that in the.
Yeah. He probably practices the celebrations more than practices on the pitch.
Honestly, I wouldn't doubt if he practices his celebrations at home very, very often. He probably thinks through what he's going to be doing. And guys, I'm going to do it one more time.
Definitely.
Bam! We're hitting that dab for Paul Pogba.
I'm so glad I've not got a YouTube video up right now. If you had a dab in his 2018 or 2019 for that matter, then
it's not 2019 yet.
Sitting on an electric chair.
No, Matthew, it's not 2019 yet. We can still hit the dab.
You either yeet or you just don't do anything.
So let's see here. Wesker for Life said Pogba was a 10, but like in Spinal Tap, he goes to an 11. Paul Gardner said Paul Pogba 10. You can't give anything less. He did nothing wrong. He made a couple of brilliant defensive contributions and attacking. Well, you all have seen it. Brilliant. Pogba finally moving into his prime. Dan Jones said Ollie is embracing Pogba, unlike Mourinho, which I agree with. Let's see here. I'm not seeing anybody else with ratings, but I am getting quite a few likes for the dab, Matthew. Just so you know, guys. How about if we get to 25 likes while we're live, I will hit another dab before we go off air, just for Paul Pogba. 25 likes. Get to it. But let's see here. Andrew's showing us his party trick. Exactly, Doug. But let's go ahead. Let's move on to Anthony Martial, who, again, fantastic game from him, and he really does unlock that left-hand side. Matthew, what do you give him today?
Yeah, it was another really good game from him. That assist for Marcus Rashford's goal was just phenomenal. There's times where we see players kind of dwell on the ball, and it just comes to nothing. But you knew that Martial was waiting for that perfect moment for Marcus Rashford to make that run. And the communication levels between those two, they don't even need to say anything. They're like twins. Got some kind of telepathy going on.
Yeah.
They just knew exactly where they were going to be, when they were going to pass it. And the chip for that goal was something else.
Yeah, that assist on that goal was phenomenal.
Yeah. I wouldn't quite say you'd get a 10 out of 10 or maybe even a 9 out of 10 for that matter. I'd probably say an 8. If he'd maybe got like a goal or something, I'd put him up to a 9, but 8 out of 10.
I was going to give him an 8 out of 10 personally. I mean, the runs he makes down the left-hand side are just they're next level, and it's exactly what we've been wanting from Anthony Martial. Instead of him having to worry about doing crazy defensive responsibilities and tracking back, he's being given the freedom to go forward and do what he does best, and that's get assists and score goals. I mean, we talked about this pre-show, Matthew, but I mean, you think about the assists that he made. Not only did he start in the middle during that point in time, but then he also went all the way to the right, which under Mourinho, I can guarantee you would have never happened because he would have been told you have to stick to the left-hand side only. And he was given the freedom to do what he had to do to get that assist in. So
you see that from the front four quite a lot. You'll notice that they have starting positions, but everyone kind of interchanges. Like half of the time you'll see Pogba playing as a left winger, and then Martial maybe on the right, Lingard up front, Rashford dropping a bit deep. And as long as they're working together well, then it's going to be absolutely unstoppable because opposition defenses are then thinking, all right, who do I mark here? Do I go and chase my man, leaving gaps open in defence, or do I just trust that he's not going to do anything?
Yeah, no, exactly, Matthew. And real quick, so Solstice, Matthew is from Scotland. He is from Scotland.
Unfortunately.
Yeah, unfortunately. Soon enough, you'll go to Manchester and just live there, Matthew. I cannot confirm or deny if he has talked with me about that, but maybe for 1 year. We'll see.
Maybe.
We'll see what we can do. But we've got some ratings here from people. Vandy Candy said Martial 7. I just want to make sure. Yes, Martial 7. He stuck to his job with chance creation. George Kyle said Martial an 8. Martial FC here. You guys already know Martial FC, back of the jersey. You guys know. Then we've got I'm Nexy with I'd say 7 for Martial. He could improve some moves, which there obviously are some things that the team can improve upon, but we have to allow Ollie the time to get those improvements into place. He's working on it, and I think that he is doing good things with the squad. Paul Gardner said 7. Fantastic assist for Rashford. Reza said Martial an 8. Shane Higgs said, thought Martial was far, far better against Cardiff, but he still did a great job today. The cross from Rashley was spot on. He gave him an 8 today. Jay Hart said Martial gets a 7. He wasn't at his best, but his average was still better than for many others, which that's very true. Dan Jones said Martial gets a 7.5. That pass was sublime, said George. Pancavs gave Martial an 8.5. AFAF gave him an 8. Martial, if he could stop asking for weird pictures. Listen, we're not going to talk about that. We're going to shh. We ignore things like that. But Nick Archer gave him a 9. So Salt Solstice did say Scotland is greater than England, just so you know.
Is this guy?
Salt Solstice? Salt Solace.
You'll get about 10 free posters.
There you go, Salt. Hit Matthew up on the Twitters. Hit him up on the Twitters. You might be getting 10 free posters. I can't confirm or deny if he actually said that, but we're going to pretend like he did say it.
He's got McTominay ones, but, you know.
Listen, if it's Scott McTominay and Andrew Robertson's, right?
That's a combination and a half, that.
Yes. Dan Jones said Salt Solstice, no. Salt Solace, no, just no. Which, listen, I haven't been to Scotland yet, so I can't confirm or deny if Scotland is better than the UK. But, I mean, the UK does have Manchester United, in fairness. So they might win just on that alone.
If you like pregnancy, then you'll love Scotland.
Listen, Matthew. But we have to move on. We're an hour and 10 minutes into this, and we've still got at least 2 players to go. Let's talk about Jesse Lingard, who actually, again, had a relatively quiet game. It's going to be hard to give him a rating because I feel like his defensive responsibilities that he did today in terms of his pressing were very, very good, but his attacking sense was not top level today. So, Matthew, what are you going to give Jesse Lingard?
I think he was the only player in the team who actually, to some extent, disappointed me. When you look at that Cardiff game, he just had so much of an impact, and I think a lot of us were thinking, right, that's actually what we want to see from Jesse Lingard. It's all good, running about a bit and pressing, and he does do that well quite a lot, even when he doesn't have much of an impact, but still. Felt like maybe if there was, I don't know who else though, but someone like Alexis Sanchez or Juan Mata, then he might have had a bit more of an effect in the game. And it was just an overall quiet performance, but I'd rather win 4-1 and someone has a 5 out of 10 game than not win and everyone's just like, oh, they're okay. So in terms of a rating, maybe 6 out of 10. If I was being extra harsh, I'd give him a 5.
I would say simply because we did win 4-1 today. And like I said, he was key in his pressing. I'll give him a 6 out of 10 today. He didn't do anything particularly to help out in any attacking sense, but he did help out immensely in his pressing and what he was doing for the team. But I will say that I look forward to seeing Alexis Sanchez get back into this team to see how he will do, because that will dictate how the right wing will be handled going forward. Because obviously we all want to see Tahith Chong. We all want to see what he can do in the side, but I think that right now, with what we've got, it's going to be interesting to see how this rest of the season will go when Alexis Sanchez is back and fully healthy. But for me, I'll give Jesse Lingard a 6. I feel like that right there is going to be just to say, hey, he had an average performance. I would say 6 when you're a starter is average. That's just me personally. So Matthew said 50 likes and he hits a fat eat. Well, Matthew would have to have 50 people watching live. So, guys, start sharing. We have to get 50 likes. So, let's see here. Got to scroll back up. And right here, Vandy Candy gave Lingard a 5. Lingard gets a 6 from Jay Hart. Average. He was average, really. Wasn't bad, but wasn't good. Pancash said 6. Raises Sunday said 6. Lingard, a 7 for me. Still had some good runs. I'm Nexy, Lingard 5. Actually, he wasn't in it. Let's see here. Lingard, as his name says, Shane Higgs said Lingard kept running and leaving the ball behind. Nick Archer said Lingard is a 6. May need to get him rest for the next game. Shane Higgs said, I'd say 6 today and rest him for the next game. I do agree with that. England has to be legendary 50. So Dan Jones has obviously just started talking about Harry Maguire, because in case you guys didn't know, whenever we talk about Harry Maguire, his forehead has to increase by 2 inches whenever you talk about him. So right now I'm up to Harry Maguire and his 124-inch forehead. It's just massive, guys. He's guaranteed to get a goal anytime he gets a header. Guaranteed. You talk about a slab of just a forehead. It's I can confirm it is definitely bigger than Matthews. Like 100% confirmed. Like,
and I tell you what, it takes a lot of skill to do that.
Like that's it. We're talking somewhere like the size of this room. It's crazy. Crazy. Then we have Paul Gardner said Lingard 5. Since Martial, Rashford, and Pogba have had this surge in form, Lingard seems to have almost gone off the radar. Dan Jones said Lingard gets a 6. Sanchez needs to take over the right-hand side. Let's see. Andrew, please do the Pogba dance impression again. Are you talking about hitting the dab, or are you talking about that one? Hitting a little bit of the riding the pony. So, let's see here. I don't think anybody else has ratings, so we're going to move on to our very last player today. We will actually we will give Lukaku a rating since he did come on and get a goal. But Marcus Rashford, I mean, the only reason why Marcus isn't getting man of the match is simply because of how immense Paul Pogba was today. So, Matthew, what are you going to give Marcus Rashford?
In the space of like a month, he's turned from Trashford to Rashnaldo.
Yes. In the space of like 2 weeks.
I said that. Yeah, exactly. And like I said, for that first goal, he just looked so much like Ronaldo. There was just so much shades of him. I think overall, he was running channels really well. Sort of combining with a bunch of different players, being in different positions at different times. And he just looked really competent and awesome. And obviously got himself a goal. So 9 out of 10 for me.
Yeah.
If he had got maybe like another goal or something, or set up another 1 or 2 goals, then it would have been a 10. But 9 out of 10 for me.
I mean, he did come off very, very early, which probably made it so he wasn't going to get to that point. I think that he probably should have had at least one more assist during his time out on the pitch. And like I said, I understand him getting taken off. Same time, though, I would have loved to have seen him stayed on for the whole match and seen a little bit of a battle between him and Pogba for man of the match. But let's see here. We've got, which, by the way, thank you for the compliments on the Pogba dance. And like I said, guys, we've got 24 people watching live now. I don't know how many people have liked the video, but if we get to 25 likes, I will hit one more dab before we go offline. So you got to get me to 25 likes if you want to see the Pogba dab. And I hit it pretty good too. I hit the dab pretty damn good. So
no one who says they hit a good dab hits good dabs.
Listen, Matthew, leave me alone, okay? I'm sick of this. Sick of it.
Yeah, don't talk to me unless you can Fortnite default dance.
I mean, that's just the Turk dance. That's all it is. That's all it is from Scrubs.
It is.
Anybody could do that. Anybody. But let's go ahead and let's get some other people's ratings. So Reza Sunday said 9.5. Vandy Candy 8. Pancaj 9, much improved under Ollie. Generally, I will never get tired of the Paul Pogba dance for me, which that's fair. That's fair. Rashford could have been 10 out of 10 in a full game with another goal, but I think 9 out of 10 is fair. J Hart said Rashford gets a 9 from me. He still needs to improve his finishing, but his runs are sublime as usual. Dan Jones said Rashford gets a 9. Nick Archer, 9.5. Would have been a 10 if he didn't come off. Hope he's okay and not injured. I 100%. Salt Solace says Rashford, 9.5. Pogboom gets a 10. Paul Gardner said Rashford gets a 10 from him. Unreal skill and determination to beat 2 defenders, then great vision to play the ball in the right area to assist Pogba. His goal was well taken. His work rate and intelligence off the ball. Off the ball shown through again. Let's see here. Oh, people are talking about how short Mr. Exclusive is. Poor Mr. Exclusive. Poor Mr. Exclusive.
I've seen the boy in real life, and I can confirm he's quite short.
It's okay, Mr. Exclusive. We still love you on this show. You don't have to be tall. You don't have to be 6'4" or 6'5" like Matthew is to be tall.
It's technically less to love.
Oh, Matthew. Oh, that's just next level right there. Come on, man. But guys, so for me, I don't know if I said my rating or not, but I'm just going to reiterate it. I give Rashford a 9. If he had been on the pitch more, I probably if he had gotten that second goal when he put it into the keeper, I probably would have given him a 10 if he had gotten that goal. But he gets a 9. He didn't get he wasn't on the pitch the entire time. And I forget who said it, but somebody said it. I hope he's okay. I hope that he is not truly injured. I really hope no. I hope that he's not. I hope he just came off because it's time for him to get a little bit of a rest before the Newcastle match. But Matthew, let's go ahead. And I put the tweet out the instant that he was coming on that we need to watch Lukaku with great intent because he might be fighting for a spot in this Manchester United side. And if he was fighting for a spot, well, he certainly earned at least a bench spot today with that goal. What do you give Lukaku during his basically 25-minute, 30-minute time on the pitch?
I kind of had an idea he'd score when he came on. As soon as I saw him warming up, I thought, oh boy, here he comes. I see what he's going to do here. And to be fair, it was the most Lukaku goal of all time. It should have been, to some extent, a quite simple finish. Although, to be fair, the finish itself was quite nice, but the movement that he made was just so Lukaku. But to be fair to me, it was a decent finish with his weak foot. But I wouldn't give him any more than a 7 because he didn't really have enough time to properly impact the game.
That's fair.
It was just a decent game, and it was actually good to see him score. Because, look, we've all criticised Lukaku in the past, but I think 99.9% of us actually want to see him do well. We'd rather him do well and us be proven wrong than he do terrible and for us to be like, yeah, I told you so.
Yeah. No, I completely agree. And my honest hope is that Ollie can get him to get a bit of a good first touch and possibly become the striker that we all believe that he can be, because his goals, his stats would indicate to you that he is one of the top strikers in all of Europe and definitely in England.
I think when you look at how he plays for Belgium, he's very much a sort of on the shoulder of the defender striker. And then you've got guys like Hazard and Kevin De Bruyne putting those through balls behind the defence. And we're actually seeing that quite a lot, as well as a lot of crosses. So we can talk about how Lukaku's just going to be terrible in terms of the build-up play, which he will be because he still doesn't have the first touch. But don't be surprised if he actually gets a few goals.
No, I wouldn't be either.
Starting striker, though. I'll still start Rashford ahead of him because he seems to be getting a brain now. But Lukaku as a sub option could be quite good.
Doug James Horn with the that awkward moment when your new manager is still a better striker than Lukaku. Listen, Doug, I mean, I know that you're a Liverpool fan and all, but that comment was spot on. Obviously, Ollie is just another level. And if he was, I bet you he could probably go out there and still play right now. He looks like he's in great shape. But I'm going to give Lukaku a 7 as well. I feel like that's kind of just, he scored a goal coming on in a substitute appearance. That's pretty good. You can't really ask for much more. And then ultimately, I think that the only other thing you could really talk about with him is the fact that you can still see that his first touch is lacking. We saw a couple of times where balls were played into him, and it bounces off of him so hard.
Yeah.
So,
and I don't really think that's something that you can kind of teach a player in the mid-20s.
Yeah.
You either have a first touch or you don't. It's kind of like why a lot of these tricky little playmakers still play until their late 30s.
Yeah.
Because you don't need that pace, but as long as you're still decent on the ball, then you can play well into your late 50s, whereas Lukaku, he doesn't have that.
Yeah. No, and I agree with you. But real quick, just wanted to read it out. George Kyle said Ollie gets a 10, only the third manager to win with his first three league matches in charge of United after Sir Matt Busby and Jose Mourinho. Let's see. Paul Gardner gave Lukaku a 7. Great composure after timeout to get the goal. Lukaku did well, scored, and actually pressed the center backs. Raises Sunday said 7. J Hart said he gets a 7 for that goal, but no more. Dan Jones said Lukaku gets a 7. Done nothing other than the goal, but good to see him back, which I agree with. George Kyle said Lukaku a 6. Offsides by a mile, but great finish, but then continued to show appalling touch. Pankaj said 7. Let's see here. Reza said Ollie Gunnar Solskjaer gets a 10. Yeah, Ollie gets a 10. Ollie will always get a 10. But I think that's everybody's ratings. So last but not least, Matthew, to wrap this up, let's go ahead and let's give Ollie Gunnar Solskjaer his first ever ratings as a manager, because we actually haven't talked about that in the last 2 shows, his ratings. So we always start off with the lineup that was run out there initially. What did you give that lineup when you saw it?
With the lineup, I was kind of positively surprised because I wasn't sure if Martial was playing. And to be honest, I can't really fault on paper that starting 11. It was a mix of players who we want to see and players who have been good recently. So, I mean, 10 out of 10, I guess.
Yeah, honestly, I'm giving him a 10 too. I'm giving the lineup a 10. It was a great combination of everything we wanted to see and the players that have been playing well. And I love seeing the lineups that Ollie runs out, because I've got confidence that they're going to do the right thing. Because obviously the next thing we have to talk about is tactically, what do you give Ollie Gunnar Solskjaer in this match?
Just for a bit of context, against Huddersfield, I'd probably give him a 7.5, 8 out of 10. Because we played well in a good match, but in the first half we just kind of pissed around in the midfield a bit too much. But today, I've given him a 9.
Yeah.
The only reason why I wouldn't give him a 10 is because, well, we didn't really score 5 or 6 goals or whatever, and also the set pieces. If there's one negative that I still have right now, not particularly aimed at Ole, but just the team in general, is that we can't defend set pieces. And that's something that we're going to badly need to work on. But tactics today, 9 out of 10.
Which, by the way, Paul Gardner said, I've already got a catchphrase. Andrew, you already know Southwick. It's pretty good. I have to admit, you already know. That's a pretty good...
It's one of the most American things I've heard.
Listen, I mean, I am an American. I'm proud. I'm proud American. So, I mean, I guess I got to come up with the most American phrases, right? I guess I got to start saying y'all next now. So, yeah, I know, right? Hitting that hard Southern accent. But I'm going to give him tactically a 9 as well. Obviously, like if you score 5 goals in a match, I think that's where you hit the 10 out of 10 range. I think that a 9 in this match is very appropriate. We obviously were pressing well, and this was Ollie's first true test as a manager, going up against Eddie Howe and Bournemouth, who have played well for the most part this season. Obviously, they've been on a bit of a downturn in form, but a lot of that comes down to the fact that they are playing just top of the top level competition. They've played everybody in the top 6 during this stretch where they've started to lose a whole lot. And, you know, it's going to happen. George Kyle, of course I've watched Team America. Come on now. But it seems like everybody's pretty much agreeing about 9 or 10. Then lastly, let's talk about the subs. I mean, one of those was out of necessity to put a center back on, but what would you give the substitutions he made today?
I'd say the fact that he brought on Andreas Pereira instead of Fellaini in that situation in the game just shows what a difference he has compared to Mourinho. Because if we're maybe at like 2-1 or something, I know 2-1 didn't happen throughout the game, but if we're at 2-1 still 70 minutes in, I could bet my house on the fact that Mourinho would have chucked on Fellaini and just tried to see out the game there. But only with his substitutions, it's actually quite positive, even when we were down to 10 men. And that's also part of the tactics too. We're still attacking, even though we had one less man. The substitutions, I give him a 7 out of 10. Saying Lukaku scoring was a highlight of one. And the fact that he actually brought on Pereira instead of Fellaini.
Yeah, and I actually, sorry, I got it wrapped up in reading Doug's comment because our picks this week for the Premier League have been absolutely horrible. So I mean, shit happens once in a while, and this was a very weird week in the Premier League. But I'll give the substitutions a 9. Like Matthew said, he did not bring on Fellaini in a situation where in the past we would have probably seen Fellaini, and then Lukaku came on and got a goal. Feel like that's a worthy 9. But guys, we'll go ahead and we're going to wrap this up. Matthew, I've got everything in the description below, but go ahead and shout out anything you want to shout out, brother.
Yeah, if you want some of that Pogba virus, then just head to offsidegraphics.com.
Yes.
That is a plug that I've been waiting to say for about an hour now.
Yes.
Yeah, the half-price sale is still on for another 2 days or so. Runs out on the 1st of January, so if you want to get one, then that's probably the best time. But still, even without the half-price sale, if I do say so myself, they're quite affordable.
Yes, no, they are. They are very, very much so affordable. I've bought one off sale, and I've bought one on sale. They are very, very affordable. So, guys, you need to get your posters. Offside Graphics in the description below. Matthew's posters are absolutely phenomenal. I'm pretty sure anybody that's gotten one in the chat would testify to that. But obviously, guys, I mean, thank you so much for tuning in today. We didn't get to 25 likes, so you guys do not get another dab. And you know, I mean, but you already know it's the Pogba virus time, and guys, sorry, Pogba, just that virus is still inside of me. I can't help it. It's just right in here. But oh yeah, that's right. I got to get the Arthur cameo. I made the promise that Arthur would come on the show.
He nearly forgot. That's atrocious.
Hey, Bubs, you want to come say hi?
If we hit 50 likes, Arthur's going to do a dab.
Yeah. It was such a big game. And guys, Arthur's obviously got his Champions League sweater on. So he's so excited. He's got the Pogba virus too. He's got that Pogba virus. It's infectious. All right, Bubs, go on. Go on. Let's go. Thank you. Good boy. You guys got your Arthur appearance. I mean, King Arthur
sub appearance in any of Jose Mourinho's substitutes.
Yes. Oh, definitely better than anything substituted for Mourinho. I guarantee you, Arthur is better class than any of Mourinho's substitutes. Guaranteed. But Arthur is very, very happy today, guys. And you want to know why? Because we got a 4-1 win against Bournemouth, our very first test with Ollie in charge. And I'm telling you now, guys, if this continues, and Matthew and I talked about this off air, but if we continue to get these kind of performances from Ollie, and we especially get this kind of performance against Tottenham, give him the contract, make him the permanent guy, because he's already got the team playing at brand new levels and brand new heights. And if Ollie can continue to do the things that he's doing, I guarantee you that he is the man to take us forward, because he's got the team believing in themselves. He's got the team doing everything that you would expect from a Manchester United manager. We're pressing high. We're scoring goals for fun. We've got all of our best players playing to their fullest potential. And guys, I am excited again to watch every single match. This is the first time in about a year that I have been excited to watch every single match. And I can't wait to see what Ollie will continue to do for Manchester United. But in the meantime, guys, thank you so much for joining us. We just are genuinely blessed to be able to have the phenomenal people that we have joining us week in and week out. Glory, glory, Manchester United. We are back, baby, and you better fear us, because we are Manchester United of old again. And we can thank this man right here for it. Ole Gunnar Solskjaer and Ollie Ball are here to stay. Hope you guys have a great night, a great day, wherever you're at and whatever you're doing. Please keep doing you, because you guys are awesome. I love you guys, and we'll see you later.